Alright, hello boys and girls, moms and dads, welcome to HeroesMart Academy. This is 5th grade social studies, week number 23. So we are still going to be in the geography section of the curriculum, and we're going to be talking specifically about people's adaptation to the environment. How the people in the United States have typically adapted to the environment or modified their environment to meet their needs. So let's talk about human modification and adaptation to start with. So prior to the Industrial Revolution, the majority of Americans was agrarian. In other words, the economy revolved around agriculture. So clearing of lands for agriculture and damming streams to store and divert water was really prevalent. So that's a form of modification of the environment. So when you clear the land for the purpose of planting crops and growing crops and trees, you are modifying the environment, and that was what was prevalent in America, in the agrarian America, especially prior to the advent of the Europeans. Then here came the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution, people started moving away from the agrarian lifestyle to an industrialized lifestyle. So people started building factories and power plants and railroads, and lands were being cleared, not necessarily for food and farming purposes, but right now for industries and for technologies. And the reason for that is, well, we want to meet our basic needs of water, food, shelter, transportation, a better life, for convenience purposes, in pursuit of financial gains, and a quest to enlarge territories. So these are some of the reasons why the United States per capita was modified, and human modification and adaptation. You're welcome to do some more research on that. What's the impact of these adaptations and modifications? So for example, when a river is dammed, water supply is going to be cut off downstream, and then wildlife will rely on that water supply, may suffer as a consequence of it. What about an impact on the economy? Well, there may be positive impacts on the economy, especially during the turn of the Industrial Revolution era. What happened was people started building industries, and they could mass produce things that they couldn't do before. So the economy gained significantly because of that industrialization. But on the downside as well, the negative impact of it will be health challenges. There will be hazards that are going to be poured into the atmosphere because of those machines and things going on over there. And then when they clear trees and they clear forest and they don't replant trees, we just deprived the air of the opportunity of regenerating itself with carbon dioxide and oxygen. So plants typically breathe out oxygen and they take in CO2, but when we clear forest and we don't replant trees, we can disturb the balance a little bit over there. This imbalance has the potential of health ramifications, and which medical science may not uncover for years to come. Alright, so what are the reactions to that? Well, governments, especially starting from the 20th century, started enacting regulations to make it more difficult for people to harm the environment. So they started enacting regulations like protecting wildlife, encouraging forestation, and limiting industrial pollution, conserving energy, and recycling waste. Case study, adaptation in Texas, for example. So Texas is home to extreme weather conditions, hurricanes, tornadoes, and you name it. But we use the state of Texas to review how people typically modify and adapt their environment to suit their needs. So timber clearing. This increased to pave the way for railroads. So when you're trying to build roads, they had to clear a lot of land to make way for those railroads. and this boosted the economy in Texas, as many businesses started to spring up, creating sawmills with little to no regulations. The big thickets of Texas in the woodlands were particularly cleared by the lumber industry during this era. Alright, what about agriculture? Followed agricultural practices in Europe, Africa, and Asia. So when people came over here, they started planting crops that they were used to planting in their native lands. So they brought things like tomatoes and potatoes and yams and peanuts, chili peppers, and all of that. So all of these are pretty much the way people adapted to their environment in the state of Texas. Agriculture, production, wetlands drainage, energy production, construction of dams, and all of these are going to be worth your read. Please and please take your child through these lessons over here. So let's take a look at how to determine distances on a scale using the scale on a map. So what we're going to do right now is to get a map that has a scale associated with it. So for example, you're welcome right now to print this little chart out for your child. Mom and dad, if you're watching with me, you can print this out literally like that. And 1 inch on this chart, 1 inch on this chart is going to be equivalent to about 850 miles. So if you were to print this out, if you measure 1 inch from, let's say, from Texas to California, if you measure maybe like 2.1 inches from Texas to California, in real life that distance is going to be equivalent to 2.1 multiplied by 850 miles, which is going to be approximately 1,708 miles from Texas to California. Now if you were to go to your Google map and you wanted to say, for example, well, what's the distance between Texas and California, it's going to come pretty close to something like this. So our method of determining distances using maps and the scales associated to those maps works for us just like that. Alright, so you got another exercise to do here as a homework. Write an article about the impact of modification on the environment in the United States. You can reference the bullet points above and turn them into sentences and paragraphs. Then the second assignment for you here is to print the map of the United States shown below. What is the distance in miles between your state and Alaska? Alright, so Alaska is going to be somewhere here. So if you're located in Texas, you're going to draw a line from Alaska to Texas, measure that in inches, and then multiply that by 850 miles. If you live in California, draw a line from Alaska to California, measure that in inches, and multiply that by 850 miles over there. Right, so let's keep going for this thing over here. Okay, so I believe that's going to be the end of week number 23. I want to thank you, boys and girls, for joining me today. Remember, God cares about you, and so do we. Bye-bye.
I'll be your hero's buddy, and as you study with HeroesMart